sans dire à tout.
What's going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, we're back this week. Last week we weren't able to be live, and as some of you know, the policy here for this stream is that if we can't do it live, we're not going to do it. Um, but last week, Rob's schedule became, unexpectedly, Rob was called into work because his coworkers are a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Oh, dude, it's.
I mean, fair. It's fair. It's a fair characterization of your coworkers. I think this is like you especially because you were like you worked 12-hour, like 10 to 12-hour work days for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah, it's been like that too. Because yesterday I even came in early, so that because I knew we were going to be short at least a couple people, and then we had 2 people call out sick. It's like I had nobody.
Oh,
I was all, and it's just, especially on our busiest day, and I didn't have any help, and it's just like it was an avalanche that I just got buried under.
Oh wow, jeez. Yeah, a lot of people, taking advantage of the situation right now.
Yeah.
And almost despicably, but a part of me, can't fault them too much. But it's just like, it's like still, there's like people who are like out of work right now, who can't even, who can't even, afford like their groceries or whatever. And you have people who can still go into work and make money and just like they decide, you know what, I'm gonna fuck off for a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what happens. It's kind of a normal part of the world, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
c'est la vie, it is what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, tonight we got a very full show for you guys tonight. Not only are we doubling up on the movie reviews, we'll be finishing this month's theme of modern black and white films, as well as a double review for the Michael Jordan docu-series, The Last Dance.
God, it's so good.
It's real. It's so good. Although, well, it's kind of good that these last 2 episodes we're doing them together because they kind of tie into each other.
Yeah, they do.
So that's actually a benefit for us. So probably should have asked you this before, but order of operations. What do you want to do first?
Let's start with I'm gonna start with like my some of my stories, and that I think that'll tie into The Last Dance. We'll start off with a little bit of shit, get some then get some of the ice cream, then we'll get back into shit, and then we'll end with some ice cream.
Okay, yeah. So all right, so we'll do a wave. We'll do a wave.
All right.
All right. So so take it away.
So this will probably be my last current event of sports talk that I do for a while. Now we're still going to talk about old sports stuff because that's for that's still good. But current day sports, like I said, I think I'm officially done with sports for a while. It was the last bastion of safety left that I had from just communist leftists. But
right, yeah, it was the last sanctuary, against all of the politics and political correctness and social justice. all those other little headaches.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that now anymore. Even my two favorite sports, it's fun. Um, so obviously, like we talked a few weeks ago about the stuff that was going on with NASCAR. We had the banning of the Confederate flag. I actually don't have a huge problem with that per se, but it wasn't just that. It was the promotion of the whole Pride Month thing, and then the allowing of the
Right,
kneel.
because the queers love because the gays love NASCAR. They love the big, they love the loud engines.
I know there are some like gay people in the sport, although it's not you know broadcast out there all that much, and
Mm-hmm.
nor do they want it to be that way. But oh well, it's like let's just cater to a group of people who don't, a group of gays that do not even give a shit about the sport. But hey, whatever. So there was that. Then there was the allowing to kneel before the national anthem, which is ridiculous. And like now, even like on we're getting a lot of like political statements on the cars. The whole Black Lives Matter stuff. Uh, you know, both symbolically on Bubba Wallace's car, and then but even like on obviously we have uh, there was a lot of like the Trump stuff on that was sponsoring another car of Corey LaJoy's number 32, and honestly like it does not belong in the sport. None of that stuff does. Um, it's not, to me it's not appropriate. Uh, and sports are, outside of maybe being patriotic, it really should be apolitical. When you're on the racetrack or when you're on the field, and the fact that it's now all no holds barred, uh, do whatever you want, whatever crazy political statement you want. Um, it's not fun anymore because there is no sanctuary from political craziness.
Right,
But
yeah,
anyway,
it's just
so
it's just the personal has become political. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
we're not personally going out there driving the cars or throwing the pitch or calling the play, but it's just what is it, the spineless or the cowardly, are too afraid of being perceived as a racist or a foe or what have you.
yeah.
Um, and it's just like if you're secure in your character, you wouldn't be afraid of name calling. You know, it's just you know because it's like because if you know your own character and you know that you don't judge anybody or you are you don't uh, you don't you don't hold anyone to a standard that that they themselves don't hold themselves to. It's like and you don't make any, and again, you don't make any judgments, and it's just like, then what do you have to worry about? Who cares if someone calls you a racist?
Oh,
It's
I
just,
care less.
I know, it's just like, yeah, you don't fucking know me. Who the fuck are you? Is like you might that and also like everything is like being called racist or or phobic. It's like it's to the point where it's if everything is racist, then nothing is racist.
Exactly.
Because again, you're sapping all meaning out of that word. It doesn't mean anything if you constantly use it. Oh, that's racist. Toilet paper is racist. Eggs are racist. Milk is racist. Like you completely the meaning is all gone. It doesn't mean
Oh yeah.
anything anymore.
but yeah, no, with the but specifically we had surprise, surprise, the whole there was the whole noose incident that happened in the garage area of Talladega,
Mhm.
supposedly, quote unquote noose, and they had not only obviously if that really did happen, awful, and the person should be punished for that because it's okay, come on, that's kind of crazy. Um, but the thing is that garage area, there are tons of cameras, and so it's not just some random fan was allowed to show up and put a noose in the garage area. So then it would have to be somebody that was in the sport who also would know that the cameras are there for one. So already and just because I don't know, pretty much all of these quote unquote hate crimes that are popping up out of all the time now, it's when and it turns out that they're all fake. So maybe but no, this one definitely happened. No, it didn't. It was a garage door pull, and not only did we had 15 FBI agents show up to do an investigation. Okay, overkill, obviously. Um, but there was no it seemed like people were disappointed that it wasn't a noose or that it wasn't some sort of hate crime. It's
Right. Yeah. It's
no,
just nowadays people are almost hoping that it's a hate crime. Although I don't believe in that designation because it's
no.
yeah, because if you what's the word? It's if you grant the premise of a hate crime, then there has to be the antithesis. Like there has to be an indifferent crime, or there has to be a love crime. You know,
Right. Yeah. That's a love crime,
yeah, it's a love
Like,
crime.
uh, but
So
and
yeah,
and
I broke in and I replaced all the batteries in your smoke detectors. Yeah, I broke in. Love crime.
yeah. Oh, I'm
Just
gonna use that. I'm I'm definitely gonna use that. The But here's the thing that why it pisses me off so much is because the NASCAR community is so honestly it's so great, but it because they will break their backs to help out somebody that's in need in the sport, and obviously a lot of the drivers and stuff, they didn't know if this is true or not, and if it was, they wanted to show support for their comrade, their team, their fellow driver, even though they're not on the same team. We're gonna show him some love. We're gonna support him, and so they did that. And the fact when it came out that it was not that, and then he doubled down and said, "Oh, it was a straight up noose. This is definitely." It's if I was a driver in that garage or a crew member or any part of the sport, I would be fucking furious for one because this has never been a part of the NASCAR community. In all honesty, all the talk about racism in the sport, it was never among the drivers or the teams or the sanctioning body. Yeah, certainly they drove in the South and there were fans that did not. Yeah, there was racism. Yeah, yeah, no shit. We obviously that was certainly a part of the South at the time, but it's never been in part of the sport. And it's just and it shit like this infuriates me because you're making a mockery of the sport and the drivers. And honestly, this to me feels like a Colin Kaepernick moment for Bubba Wallace, a driver who I believe has the talent. He's definitely more talented than Colin Kaepernick was at his sport. He just doesn't have the equipment behind him to win. Um, but it's kind of a Colin Kaepernick moment. This is his chance to, he's in a point in his career where he needs to kind of get into better equipment to,
Right. He has to stand out. He has to draw more sponsors, and he has to he has to bring more money for himself so that he could get better equipment to then better place put himself in a position to be like a Jeff Gordon or a Dale Earnhardt or something like that.
yeah. But this to me, this that, and when you look at that, you start to connect those dots, and it's like, this is exactly what he's doing. He doesn't. Maybe he does believe in this stuff. I don't know, but I would say I would say no. He probably
Right.
doesn't, because
From the outside perspective, he definitely just seems like an opportunist, and he knows with like the whole George Floyd thing and and Colin Kaepernick thing. He's like he sees a very small opening for himself where he can propel himself into like that superstardom. But it's just like,
so.
but it's but if you want to like, why would you want to get that kind of attention? It's like, wouldn't you rather be known as someone who's really good at their sport? I mean, I heard after that the race that they all raced in after like that big show of support where they walked they walked all the drivers walked along the what's that place called
Talladega.
Right, a certain stretch or like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pit area.
they're walking down to the front of the pit area. They're pushing his car to the grid.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a show of support.
Right, and but I heard he lost that race because he ran out of fuel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so does he have talent? Yes, but he in this specific race he demonstrated that he lacked kind of basic planning. Like he didn't know how to manage his resources.
Well, that is more of like a team thing. You're making some of those fuel calculations are like, I mean, it's right to the wire sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, maybe we're gonna get the caution, maybe we aren't, to save that, like, just that little bit amount of fuel to make it to the finish. So
Right.
it's, and that part, like, I don't blame on him,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just the thing is, I think he knew all along that this is all bullshit. I think, honestly, like, I don't think he planted it. I don't think that he did
Right,
all
but
that.
like he like I said, he saw a very small opening, a very small window of opportunity, and he took it. Like he even admits that he didn't personally see the quote unquote noose. It was told to him by somebody else.
Yeah. And
So it's just like, so how so you don't even know if it was actually a noose, and even like and it's so stupid because like the pictures they don't give you a contrast or they don't give you any kind of perspective on how big the thing is. They just like got it really close to the pull, and they took a picture of it, and so it looks like it looks like a noose. But if it was like if someone was standing there holding it to scale, then you could see that it's just it fits within the palm of someone's hand. And it could nowhere near be confused with a noose.
yeah, it's not.
All right.
But yeah, so that was that's the one of the stories I wanted to talk about. So wow, I can't believe I'm saying that I'm actually done with NASCAR. Never thought I would ever say that in my life.
Well, I mean,
Then
there was a time that I never thought I'd be done with the Lakers, but they picked up LeBron, and I initially I wasn't the biggest LeBron fan, and then he came out to be a complete ass.
no, but now I'm done with baseball too. Another sport that you know no matter really what the players' politics were, it was a patriotic sport. I think it's a great sport. Um, but no, it is now. Now they're kneeling before the flag, and wearing Black Lives Matter shirts. Uh, just kind of going along with this Marxist organization's talking points, and all coming from these all these people who are multimillionaires, or at least if they're making the minimum, that's $500,000 a year or more, um, and it's just ridiculous. Uh, we were talking before we started today about back in the mid 70s, you had some people who ran onto the field at Dodger Stadium to try to burn the American flag. And one of the famous scenes was Rick Monday ripping the flag out of their hands to save it from being burned. If that same thing happened today, Rick Monday would be booed.
Right, absolutely. Which is it's sad. Like um, America. Baseball is you know one of America's unique sports. I mean, NASCAR for sure is 100% American. American made sport. It's 100% uniquely American. I think baseball is a close second to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's just like because there was a meme that went around, where there was a picture of all the baseball players kneeling and holding that black ribbon in solidarity or whatever, and then you have and then you have and then on top you have the video of you just said his name. What was that player's name again?
I think his name is Steve Coonrad. He's a reliever for the
No, no, no,
Giants.
no. The one from the 70s.
Oh, Rick Monday. Rick Monday.
Yeah, Rick Monday. There we go, Rick Monday. Yeah, and then on top of that, you have like the clip of Rick Monday. You see the hit. You see the dirty hippies come and try to burn the flag, and Rick Monday just comes swooping in, and and rescues the flag, and
Yeah.
the crowd gets up on their feet in applause.
I have that bobblehead too of Rick Monday grabbing the flag.
Oh, nice.
I'll have to.
But
I'll bring it out next week. But yeah, it's oh man, it's sad. And
right. Oh, yeah, I saw another meme. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to find it. But it was like Colin Kaepernick and one of his teammates on the on the 49ers, and they were kneeling, and then underneath, it was kind of like a precipice thing, and then underneath, like was like U.S. soldiers like holding them up,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like that's like the perfect visual representation. It's like yeah, you can only do that because of the the lives that had to fall that lives that had to be sacrificed for you to do that. And I think
Yeah.
there was a bar that put up a sign saying that it will no longer be playing sports on their TVs because of the disrespect.
Good.
Because the bar
Yeah.
owners had a son who died in service.
Yeah.
And so
Good
yeah,
for
they put
him.
up a sign. Yeah, the bar owners put up a sign saying we will not be playing sports any longer, because of disrespect to the flag which our son died in service to or for. And it's
Yeah.
just like yeah, good for them. Absolutely, 100%.
But yeah, I never. It's kind of weird. Like I'm without any sports anymore. It's kind of a weird place to be. I mean, now again, I am gonna watch old NASCAR races because that was like I said, that old that period in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. That was when sports were awesome, I think. But Yeah, but like anything new, until there's some sort of like taking back of um, respecting the country and like kind of just getting some of the political crap out of the sport. When basketball stops sucking the cock of China,
Hmm.
maybe I'll come back. But until then, I'm not watching.
Yeah, I was never too much into sports. Basketball was really like the only sport that I watched with any sort of interest. But when the Lakers started to suck. Then they got LeBron, and he's like LeBron's complete asshat. And then like with the whole like China, the Hong Kong China thing, it's just like he just made him out to be even more of an ass, which like just made me like left a really bad taste in my mouth and just like I'm done, you know. I'm done with Lakers specifically and basketball generally. Um, I'm, especially because you know other than like the freaking I don't know if it was the general manager of the Houston Rockets, but someone high up in the
Yeah, yeah,
organization.
yeah. It was
It was the
I think it was
GM
the
of the
assistant general
Houston,
manager. I think it was the
right?
assistant general
Yeah,
manager.
okay, yeah. He was the only one to come out and say like, yeah, we should be in support of these protesters. And then
Did you know? Because they are because they're putting it like they're allowing the players to wear political statements on their jerseys, right? And as a fan, you can buy jerseys and put on some of those statements as well. Guess what? You can't put on there that they won't sell it to you. Anything to deal with Hong Kong.
yeah, oh, yeah, I saw that. Like you could put like die pig die, but you can't put anything in support of like Hong Kong,
That's fucking insane.
right? Yeah, and I mean, not as though anybody watched it, but like even the WNBA, pulled a stunt, like the New York Liberties and I forget some other team. Like as soon as like the national anthem played, they walked off the the court and like they didn't even just like trip. They didn't kneel. They just all walked off and back into their locker rooms.
Well, nobody was watching anyway,
Yeah,
so I
nobody
guess
was
it doesn't
watching, but so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah. So yeah, because nobody watches the WNBA. Who gives a shit?
Hey, anytime I can give shit to the WNBA, I will.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
Oh man. But yeah, so that's kind of like so this will be my last uh current sports event talk for a long time. I
Mhm.
don't think that there's unless something like outrageous happens. Uh, yeah, I'm probably not gonna be talking about sports for a while. Outside of like if you're doing like classic talk, like what we're doing like with the Last Dance or something.
Yeah, I mean,
But speaking of the Last Dance, why don't we get into some good sports talk?
okay, yeah, let us all bask in the awesomeness that is Michael Jordan. Although these last two episodes are a bit of a downer, but because we'll be talking about episode 7 and 8 of the Last Dance, and episode 7 deals with the death of his father.
I
Uh,
watching this episode, and I had forgotten how not awful, evil the media was talking about because
About
it
his
talks
dad's death.
about
Yeah.
James Jordan, Michael Jordan's dad, his murder,
Right.
and which is a horrible tragedy. I don't know if they ever found the guy that did it.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But the fact that they were already treating Michael pretty shittily. This that season
Shittily.
before when they won the third straight championship.
Hmm.
Um, but that when his dad was killed, they wrote these outrageous stories about how it was Michael's fault. It was because of his
Right, because of his
gambling.
gambling, and
It
he
was
was like, it was the gambling debt, and they were trying to send him a message or something. It's just like, god damn, it's like you fucking
honestly,
monsters.
fuck. How he kept it together, because that must have been so rage inducing. Like I don't even think like I would be able to speak, or I don't know. I would probably be shaking
I
limbs.
yeah,
So
next press conference, I would have just went and like punched every like reporter in the face if it was me. They said like they started talking shit about my dad,
I would never award any of those people an interview again.
right? And I was just like, go, like every single time they'd be like, go fuck yourself, and just walk away from them.
Yeah. It's like pay whatever fine you need to pay, because I know they get fined if they don't. But it's like, you know what? Fuck it. I have enough money.
I know, right? Yeah, especially if you're a if I had Michael Jordan money, and like the governing body said, hey, if you don't talk to the press, then it's such and such fines. Like I don't give a shit. I got more money than God,
How many games do we have? All right, here. I'm just gonna pay the fine up front. Here you go.
right?
Um,
But yeah,
and
I forgot too. Like just how disgusting the press. I mean, it just goes to show that the press was always awful. Like no matter the era.
that was like I was flabbergasted. It's like, how can you write an article like that and sleep at night?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have no moral center, or just like you really like you have to have no soul, because it's like it's just like no empathy whatsoever. What if like they were not able to put themselves in his position? It's like what if what if someone, like, regardless of like his superstar status, what if someone wrote like those awful things about your father, or about you after your father had died? It's
The guy is in mourning because
mhm,
his dad was like his best friend,
right.
and he just lost him. And you're writing articles essentially saying that you're responsible for his murder.
Hmm.
That's fucking evil.
Hmm.
And he was already on the verge of. I think he was already kind of like leaning this direction that he went, because obviously this episode talks about his first retirement and him going to play baseball,
Hmm.
and he was already kind of leaning that direction. Oh, this clearly pushed him over that edge. It's like, well, fuck this. I'm not playing basketball. And he wanted to go do something fun.
Right. I'm sure. Like, yeah, he wanted to get his mind off of everything, because his father was so tied to all of like the good things that happened to him, like while he was playing basketball. And so, he needed, yeah, I think for him to kind of be able to, start the healing process, he had to, distance, he had to put himself in a different context. And I think baseball was
And,
the answer.
yeah, and the thing is, he wasn't like demanding like, oh, I want to be on
Right.
the
No, he didn't like, yeah, he
major
didn't
league
like,
roster.
yeah, he didn't he didn't swing his dick around and say like, yeah, I want to be on the White Sox right away. He went to the
No,
minors,
he
and
slugged it out in the minors, and he worked his ass off. He not only did he like not just like kind of, well, I was a superstar in basketball, so I'm gonna be great here. It's like, no, he put in that same work ethic that he had for basketball. he put in for baseball
Right.
because he gave a shit. And he didn't like ride in fancy cars and all that stuff. He rode on the bus with his teammates, slugging it out in the dog days of summer and for minor league baseball. I mean, yeah, he was still getting paid good money because the owner of the Bulls is to say also owns the White Sox, Jerry
Right.
Reinsdorf, and so he was still paying him his his basketball contract despite him not playing anymore because it's like, well, he's underpaid and he made us a zillion dollars. We're gonna keep paying him. It's like,
Yeah, no, like
it's all rich.
the like during the '90s and like during like the '80s and '90s, like Michael Jordan was basically a printing press for money for the Bulls.
Oh yeah, he made that whole sport $1 zillion.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So yeah, and so Michael, yeah, he definitely put in that work, like you were saying, and and again, it's like the media just wouldn't leave him alone. Like like they basically, there was like basically that mocking piece in Sports Illustrated talking
yeah,
about
that was
like
like, I remember that. I remember that magazine too.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that they never asked him for an interview. They just like wrote some shit about it.
Right, yeah, it's like it was kind of like a hit piece and kind of you know kicking him while he was down because initially he had like this great start, but then I think I think the other players started picking up on his game, and so that they're able to, yeah, that's what it was, because they kept throwing like fastballs, but then they switched it to what was it, a junk ball, I believe it was.
The curve, they started using breaking balls, and
Right.
that's what happens. That's what happens in baseball. It's like, okay, because if the they're gonna throw you their best stuff. Oh, he can hit the fastball. Okay, like I guess we can't throw him that anymore. He's caught up to that. Now we're gonna make an adjustment. We're gonna start throwing like curveballs, splitters, whatever we can to get him out. And
Mhm.
for he couldn't hit it, and but he worked his ass off to make the adjustment where he was. That's all he was looking for was breaking balls, breaking balls. He was hitting that off like they have special pitch machines that throw that type of stuff.
Right.
He was taking
Right. They
like
talk about that, how he
batting practice.
yeah, during the off season, all he did was practice with the breaking ball machine.
And the
And
fact that
yeah, and he was able to crack that code, and he was like, when the season started up again, he was able to crack him out of the park.
it was for his like first, because he only like lasted, I think it was like a season and a half, but
Yeah.
he and the minor league season is much shorter than the major league season. I think it's only like 100 games, and yeah, he only hit like 200 or so, but he drove in 50 runs. That's not nothing.
Right.
So, uh, and they were saying it's like had the strike not happened, the baseball strike not happened in '94, he'd probably still be playing baseball, and he probably would have made the majors. Maybe not been he might not have been a superstar in the baseball, but he would have been good enough to at least make the major league roster, which is not nothing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, going to the show, that's big.
Yeah, and it's just but yeah, no, it was just kind of interesting, kind of like I think the going to baseball and just kind of being one of the guys, not having like
Right. Not
it's
being
it's
super. Yeah.
very
Not being the superstar. Being like
yeah
the being the cornerstone for the team was, I think, really beneficial for him, for like his his healing process. After his father died.
yeah. So that was really interesting. I learned a lot through this episode about Jordan, and I was like, wow, I didn't know all about the baseball stuff,
Mhm.
what he was kind of going through there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I forgot, or I just didn't like pay attention to, and just watching this docu series, having that other side, or being reminded of certain things. Um,
Um,
Yeah, let's
Was there
go
anything
into
else in
the next episode, episode 8.
Okay, yeah. So one thing that I really liked about this episode, and this is what I love about the in any sport, you have your superstars. Like these are the guys that drive the sport, and they all kind of have kind of a similar mentality on things. Like Jordan would, because his drive to win was so much as like, yeah, he was a dick, no doubt about it. But it wasn't just to because he had a huge ego or it was just to be a dick. It had a purpose. He felt like if he was gonna push you as hard as he could during practice, so that because if you couldn't take it in practice from him, your teammate, what chance do you have when you actually get out playing teams like that are the rivals that hate your guts, that are gonna destroy you? And it's like he would push his teammates to the point where they to try to get them to fight him, to have some sort of it's like, hey, fucking stop picking, get out of my fucking face, like let me do my job, kind of thing, and kind of get them riled up. Um, one thing that I look at, kind of that same mentality I look at is in Dale Earnhardt in NASCAR, is he would do that to other drivers. Is kind of that's why he was known as the Intimidator. He would rattle your cage to the point where it's like he would fuck with you during like practice sessions. There were especially what was it, back in like the 90s, him and another driver, also Hall of Fame driver, Mark Martin, they had kind of a history together where Earnhardt would just constantly badger him and kind of ruffle his feathers. He'd start kind of ride him hard in practice, get him loose, kind of like he was like in a real race. And it got to the point where it's like, hey, fuck you, and like he and Mark Martin ended up turning him in practice. And after that, it's like, all right, and he left him alone because like he knew that like he couldn't pick on him anymore. And that's what Jordan was trying to get out of his teammates, where it's like, I'm preparing you to be stronger. And it's like, and unless you stand up for yourself, uh, you're going to get picked on, from the rest of the league.
Right, yeah, that's why I really enjoyed that story about him and Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
When Steve Kerr was pretty new. Was he new to that team that year?
Yeah, Brett. Yeah, he was
Right, yeah,
brand
he
new.
was with like he came on with like a bunch of new guys. But yeah, and he was and
Scott
like even
Burrell, Steve Kerr, and yeah, there's like one Tony Kukoc.
mhm. Yeah, and even Jordan, he even said like, man, I felt so bad afterwards, picking on like, because I guess he was like one, he wasn't the one of the tallest, but
Yeah,
he felt like he felt like he even said like himself like he felt like this big, after he did
yeah,
it, and but ultimately, it made it strengthened their relationship because the next practice, like Steve Kerr got up in his face and pushed back and like really started to perform.
yeah, and you could really feel Jordan's passion, and
Mhm.
because I mean when he was talking about like there was some like teammates that said like kind of calling him an asshole, and kind of like, and it's like, listen, like if you don't have the drive to win, like what's the point? And he was sharing his passion of like why he did the things that he did, and it's like if you can't like understand what I was trying to do, it wasn't out of like anything like negative I was trying to do. I was
Right.
trying to
There was no
that's
malice in in what he was trying to do. He was all doing it for the benefit. It's like the hard ass teacher or you know that that sees the potential within a student, but it's like they push them a little harder. They give them a little bit
yeah,
more homework or whatever. It's like because they know that there's something that's great inside them or something that's like they're able to withstand. and ultimately it worked, because Jordan was able to bring out the best in his team, and and it took him to a championship.
But he even got choked up talking about that too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I mean, I've always respected Michael Jordan, but like
Mm-hmm.
this, I understand that mentality. Like what he was trying to go for. But yeah, it was just kind of like this episode is interesting because you got to like because you had some of the former teammates talking about Jordan, and I think some of the guys they didn't quite understand what he was going for, and it's like yeah, he was kind of a dickhead and tyrant, and it's like well, it's like yeah, there's a reason for that. It's like it's there's the people that that want it and they want to win, and then there's the people that then there's the others that they don't give a shit,
Mm-hmm.
and if they can't handle that. That's on them.
Right. Yeah, I think because I think the kind of like the story that they initially started off with in this episode was the story of between him and that I forget what team he was on. Is it the Knicks? Smith?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like yeah, but like you know, they beat him, and you know Jordan Ford said that, oh yeah, he came up to me, put his arm around him, was like, good game, but like he took it in like a
Oh no,
very like
he was on the Washington Bullets,
Bullets. That's right, the Bullets. Yeah, and this
which are
kind
now
of
the
like,
Wizards.
yeah, which are now the Wizards. But yeah, um, he said that, yeah, the player came up to him and said, put his arm around him, like, good game, like kind of like in a condescending way, and he said that he used that to then turn around for the next game to just utterly dominate him. It wasn't until later that it wasn't until later that a reporter asked him, like, did that really happen? It's like, no. It's just great. Like, yeah, like him, just like Michael Jordan, just finding ways to like get him like motivated and get him into that headspace to be like, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass, like kind of like how in the previous episode where Magic Johnson was talking about how he would play, he would be playing cards with him, and and he would beat, and whenever he beat Michael, that he would just like drive him, and after he beat him, after Michael beat Magic once, it's like that wasn't enough. Like he had to beat him like five, 10 more times
Yeah,
to feel satisfied. It's just like, god damn.
yeah, that's crazy. That's just
Yeah,
craziness.
but like to the point to where he's just like like coming up with scenarios that he to get him into that space is just kind of psychotic. But I understand. I understand the mentality.
Yeah, and it's like because and then this episode too, it talks about how like you'd have B.J. Armstrong, former teammate on the Bulls, who was playing for the Hornets and like had a good game against Jordan, and it's like okay, all right, you want to talk trash, you want to do all that stuff, get ready, and then they went and like demolished the Hornets, or with Horace Grant, with the Magic, them getting beat on Jordan's comeback
Oh, right,
year,
right. Oh yeah,
and
like
like
what was that? One of the players was like, oh, 45, 823.
yeah, oh, and then it's like
I forgot about that. I mean, I know like he came back like as 45, after
the
because of his
baseball,
dad
yeah,
and stuff. But it's like I didn't, yeah, but I didn't like I forgot like the whole like the reason why he went back to 23. It's just like, oh damn, it's like.
and then in that finals appearance against the Seattle Supersonics, where George Karl, who was his friend, the coach of the Supersonics, just like didn't even acknowledge him. He's like, okay, That's how you want to play it? All right. And he fucking torched them.
Yeah, he fucking lit him up. Oh, jeez.
And that's all it took. All these like little like minuscule things. It's like, okay, I'm gonna use that. Fuck these people, and he dominated them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing is, it's like, I mean, it wasn't necessarily that Jordan was necessarily angry, but he would find ways to get himself fired up, like so he would play angry, and that's when he was at his
Right.
best. And you look at his protege, which was Kobe Bryant. Kobe did the same thing. When he was mad, he played amazing.
Yeah, I mean, kind of no better proof of that is during like the whole like rape allegation uh, time.
Yeah,
Because like I mean, Dave Chappelle makes a joke about it. Saying how like Kobe was fighting that fighting that trial on the court. It's like doing triple doubles like every single
yeah.
doing triple doubles every single night. Just like hey, this is how not
He,
I'm
he was
affected I am.
he was playing like his freedom depended on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's like that it's kind of true. It's like, because yeah, was Kobe's off the court life always the best? No, but he was one of the greatest I've ever seen on the court, and man, like yeah, that like it was just that focused him, because he was. It's like, what else is he gonna do? And that was like the first time because Kobe was always pretty good, but that time, like when that was going on, I was like, wow, this guy is
Yeah,
close to Jordan I've
yeah,
seen a
kind of
player.
kind of like Jordan. It hyper focused him, and
Yeah, but
it got him to
it
that
made me
place.
think
It
of,
got him, yeah, it got him to that place where he just like I gotta show them that that this isn't phasing me. That everything that's going on with like the court case and and all these allegations, it's like it's not gonna phase me.
yeah, and it just like that was the moment where I was like, wow, this is as close to Jordan as I've ever seen.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Kobe Bryant was as closest to like the second coming of Jordan as
Yeah,
as possible. Yeah, God rest his soul.
yeah, but this is, I mean, it just this docu series just gets more and more exciting
Hmm.
as you go on, and yeah, it's stuff that we kind of experienced in real time as kids, you and I,
Hmm.
but now getting like kind of the stories behind it, and it's like, wow, there's a lot more going on than I realized.
Right.
I
It's
mean, I
like
say
I
that
mean,
every
cause
week.
yeah, because before social media, all we could only get the information through the traditional media outlets, and so we didn't know any of all like we didn't know like what he was going through. Like like Twitter wasn't a thing back then, so it wasn't like he could uh, share with us his what his state of mind was or
Right.
or show or like put on again no Instagram, so he can't put up a selfie of him like doing workouts and showing like the work that he was putting in behind the scenes. Um, so
Exactly.
yeah, so now growing up in that time and now being adults and then getting all of like the behind this behind the scenes stuff and getting you know m- more context to that situation yeah, this has been great. This docu series, especially for people our age and our generation, it's like this is as this is as good as like being backstage or like in the locker room like during that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the last two episodes. I don't know, like if hopefully your schedule will allow us to
Yeah.
tackle the last two episodes separately. But even if it doesn't, I'm still looking forward to the last two episodes.
Yeah. Same here.
Um,
All right. So are we gonna dive into another pile of shit?
yeah, why not? Um, I don't know. I'm. It's So I'm so far beyond like feeling angry or whatever. It's just that's why I titled this segment like best apocalypse ever, because it's just a revealing. It's just like everything now has just been a revealing of kind of like what's in people's hearts and souls really, you know.
Yeah,
And
I'm not angry. I'm flabbergasted. It's like, wow, I this it's crazy.
right, yeah. So like the big thing I want to talk about um, is the basically all the social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, uh, Google, YouTube. I mean, I know they're the same thing, but they're all revealing. They're playing themselves right now. They're straight out playing themselves. Just the other day, there was a press conference by this group called like Frontline Doctors or something, or like it was called like the White Coat something or other. It was a group of
Yeah,
doctors coming out and speaking out about uh, all of like the fear mongering behind COVID or coronavirus, and saying how masks aren't necessary, and that hydroxychloroquine is the cure for coronavirus. Um, and the only media branch or media company that was covering it was Breitbart. And I know, say whatever you want about Breitbart, but they were the only ones covering this. So and they weren't even necessarily saying like, oh, whatever, all of the things that these doctors are saying is true. They weren't as Trump Jr. said, it's like, oh, like it's not as though, because I will get to him. Um, it's not as though Breitbart was saying, it's like, oh, everything that these doctors are saying is true. It's just like, no, this is what the doctors are saying. Take what they have to say, and then like maybe do your own research, or do use your own discernment just to to uh, to determine if what they're saying is true. You know,
that have free will and a conscience.
yeah, and more than two brain cells. Whether or not people have more than two brain cells, I'm not saying that, but they're true. But they're all Bart is saying is take what these people are saying, do your own research, come to your own conclusion. And this press conference was the most watched viewed stream on Facebook. They streamed it on Facebook. There was like 18 million views on it, and clips of it were being shared far and wide on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram and what have you. And not even 24 hours later, all of the media companies basically nuked it off their websites. Like Facebook took it down, Twitter took it down, Instagram took it down, YouTube took it down. I'm sure if you try to find the original video, you wouldn't be able to find it on Google. I
Right.
believe I believe Breitbart still has it on their website, but I think that might be the only place to actually view the entire press conference in its entirety.
Right. Right.
Um, but what's also troubling is that the president shared a clip of, especially like from one of the doctors, Stella Emanuel. Cause she's this black woman from, again, I think from one of like the West Coast African countries. And
Yeah.
she's had experience using hydroxychloroquine not only in her country, but then also the like the clinic that she works at in Houston.
hmm
And so like, yeah, she's been, so her clip is like probably the most well known clip. She was basically saying like, oh yeah, I've given it to 300 patients, 99 years old, like with diabetes, with heart conditions, and everyone has been completely fine using this using hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and zinc. And the president, so the president shared this, and the very next day, Twitter took it down. They straight up just deleted it.
That's the part to me that's just like, wow. A sitting president, and they deleted his tweet. That's
Right,
insane.
right, and I forget. I think the president's tweets are considered, um, what was it? Official White House statements, or they're
Right.
regarded as. So what Twitter basically did was interfere with the communication from the president.
Yeah.
And and then when his son, Trump Jr. saw that, it was taken down, he put out a tweet saying something like, "Oh, I'm gonna, don't worry, guys, I'll share it up on my site." And within like an hour or so of him tweeting that he was gonna share it, Twitter locked him out of his account.
That's wild.
Right?
That
Yeah.
see that so you don't tell me that there's not some sort of cabal or something that of these people that are it's there is like all this stuff is going on. Like they keep trying to gaslight us and tell us, oh no, this is happening. No, you're crazy. No, we're just a public space where people can share their ideas. Horseshit. It's all horseshit.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. Because it all seems to be going one way. Because I mean, Jake Tapper, shared a study about hydroxychloroquine and its effectiveness, a few weeks back, but Twitter didn't take that down. Twitter didn't strike that down as fake information or false information or what have you.
Yeah.
And just to put put a real fine point on the matter, just to put a fine point on this matter. Uh, yeah, so Newsweek. This was just a few days ago, on the 23rd. Put out this article from one Dr. Harvey Reich, professor of epidemiology at Yale School of Public Health.
Okay.
He puts out this article in Newsweek. This isn't like some wackadoo blog, or this is this is mainstream. All right, this is mainstream, folks. But he puts out this article highlighting, it's like, and I highlighted it. It's like, on May 27th, I published an article in the American Journal of Epidemiology entitled "Early Outpatient Treatment of Symptomatic High-Risk COVID-19 Patients Should Be Ramped Up Immediately as Key to Pandemic Crisis." Basically, what he goes on to say that what is it, hydroxychloroquine, azithromycin, and zinc, like the things that the president has been putting forward as prophylactic, or as treatment, is effective. It works.
Right.
And here's another quote. Since publication of my May 27th article, 7 more studies have demonstrated similar benefit. In a lengthy follow-up letter, also published in American Journal of Epidemiology, I discuss these 7 studies and renew my call for the immediate early use of hydroxychloroquine in high-risk patients. And this isn't just some quack. This is a professor, a double doctor, an MD and a PhD. And he's a professor at one of the most prestigious universities in our country.
Yeah, that's not some wackadoo.
exactly. I mean, like that other doctor lady, Stella Manuel. Yeah, like if you look into her past, she said some like crazy shit. All right, talking about aliens and demons can cause disease and yada. Okay, kind of out there things. But this man, Harvey Reich, doctor, MD, PhD, professor at Yale, has come out and said that hydroxychloroquine, as an early treatment, is effective. Here's another quote. Reverse. He's talking about how like um, they kind of they it kind of there was a natural kind of experiment that happened in Switzerland. It's a reverse natural experiment happened in Switzerland. On May 27th, the Swiss national government banned the outpatient use of hydroxychloroquine. That just means, without the supervision of like doctors and things like that, over the counter stuff. Um, COVID, yeah, for ban outpatient use of hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19. Around June 10th, COVID-19 deaths increased fourfold and remained elevated. On June 11th, the Swiss government revoked the ban, and on June 23rd, the death rate reverted to what it had been beforehand.
Wow.
Right? And then here, okay, both episodes suggest that a combination of hydroxychloroquine and its companion medications reduce mortality and should be immediately adopted as the new standard of care in high-risk patients. Again, double doctor, MD, PhD, professor at Yale. He said this. He said this only a few days. He said this only a few days ago. In Newsweek, mainstream media outlet.
That's pretty amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So like why? So why? Like just because Fauci is like in like in like part of the government, we just have we have to discard every other expert.
Well, remember, he's the exalted Dr. Fauci. Praise be upon him.
Right? Hallowed be his name. But yeah, and it's crazy because just because today my parents, I don't know, for some reason my parents still watch uh mainstream news, like they're watching ABC, and just like you should have heard like all of like the scare tactics, like the news stories that they're talking about, like like more deaths, like the president sending mixed messages, breakthrough with the vaccine, new breakthrough with the vaccine.
I'm so happy that my parents finally stopped watching us. I kept telling them, I was like, this is not productive, guys. Like, this is something they're not using facts. They are promoting fear, and they're giving you just enough that they're the prescription for that fear, and they give you just enough to keep coming back. Like, how is this productive to your life? And they stopped watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to tell my parents stop watching I keep trying to convince my parents not to watch the mainstream news anymore, but they just don't want to seem to listen. And interestingly enough, as soon as we started talking about that Newsweek article, our stream became unstable.
Of course it did.
Of course it did.
Of course it did.
Of course, Google it. Yeah, I made sure to archive that article just in case they Newsweek or like Google, they had some ideas about trying to hide it.
Yeah.
So I have it backed up. If anyone needs to read that article, I have it. I screen cap. I archived the entire thing. So if you want to read it yourself, I'll be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, definitely. Fascinating stuff, Andy. But I'm flabbergasted that a sitting president's tweet was just poof, like it never existed.
Yeah, memory hold. But here's the thing, I'm really heartened by everything, by all of this, even though it seems horrific,
The
because there's
spells are
that,
ending.
yeah, spells are ending. It's that old saying, you only get flack when you're flying over the target,
Yep.
and like that, if it really wasn't, uh, if hydroxychloroquine wasn't effective, or as the cure all, that they're saying that it's not, then they wouldn't say anything. They would just do like they would just do a Snopes fact check thing and say like, oh, no, it's like, no, this is mostly false. It's like, yes, there's studies saying that early on, if you use it, there you have a better chance, but not like in like but not in like later stages of the disease. But it's just like, I just read you a Newsweek article saying that it's fine, that people, like high risk people, should be taking it right away.
Yeah.
But it's just like,
But
yeah, but
no, yeah.
again,
It's like,
yeah,
the thing is, like, the spells are ending. The wizardry is not working like it once did.
right, yeah, because again, kind of like how Owen mentioned, they're trying to do too many spells at once.
Yeah.
They're doing the disease thing. They're doing the financial thing, spell. Yeah. So that yeah, they're doing the racist spell with like the whole like BLM and George Floyd thing. There's too many spells.
Yeah.
You can't talk.
And it's like,
You can't talk about pandemic, but then not call out people who are out, protesting without masks, not social distancing. You can't talk
yeah,
about.
exactly.
You can't talk about. You can't talk about You can't talk about lockdowns, or you can't talk about financial stuff when like you're the ones who put everything. When the government's the one that's locking everything down.
Exactly.
This isn't a natural. This isn't a natural recession. This is
Or
artificial.
yep.
And as soon, I mean, I had a conversation with a young man that I know. Um, and the subject of like the lockdowns came up, and I was just like, hey man, it's the government is never gonna let us out of our houses or open up our business. We have to do it ourselves.
Yep.
We have to we have to take initiative. We have to be the ones to be like, no, we're just opening up again. Fuck you, fuck the government. Because it's like they can't arrest everybody.
Yep.
They can't arrest everybody. And even if they do, all you have to do is to overload the court system is just asked to be tried. Everybody. Everybody asked to be tried. There's no way that they
Yep.
can afford that. The government cannot afford all of the trials.
Nope. So, hey, honestly, yeah, like you're saying, like, Andy, I think let's look at this as a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, I think people are going to start waking up. I actually think there's been talk from the White House that there's actually going to be some really big legislation coming down soon. That's going to be, I think, beneficial for the country. Hopefully, we'll see. And I think this is, maybe it has something to pertain with the social media stuff.
Right. Yeah. The designation of, I forget what the number is. But yeah, it's like
230, I believe.
230. 230. Yeah, I think so too, because initially all they it's like it's like the idea, like, again, if you guys aren't following Owen Benjamin, you ought to be. But he talks about his experience as a stand-up comedian, um, and and dealing with hecklers.
Yeah.
And it's, you can't go after them like full tilt right off the bat. You know,
Well,
you have to get the audience on your side. And right now, the president, what he's been doing is getting the crowd on his side. Because like the heckler,
Right.
they'll like try to like disrupt the show. They'll like they'll call them names. But like if the comedian goes at that heckler full tilt right away, then it's just like, oh, that comedian's an asshole. All the heckler was just trying to be funny.
Right.
But what the comedian has to do is just let the heckler keep talking, keep talking to the point that the audience start to see the heckler, as a disturbance.
Yep.
And so that's as soon as one other person says, "Hey, shut up,"
That's the
that's the
moment.
cue. That's the moment. That's the moment. And I think that's what we're seeing here, especially with like the whole like riots and things like that. Even though the media calls them protests, they're really riots.
No, no, no. Mostly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful. Yeah, the mostly peaceful riots. Um,
Yeah, just like how was it Ben Shapiro made the point of like, oh, just how like O.J. Simpson was mostly peaceful that night when he murdered 2 people.
right, exactly.
Mostly, you know,
Mostly peaceful.
for like an hour he wasn't, but like the rest of that night, mostly peaceful.
Right. It's funny, like the whole thing with George Floyd and rioting thing, like it sparked a memory in me, I I finally realized what it reminded me of. It reminded me of this episode of Star Trek, Deep Space Nine.
Oh,
In this 2-part episode called Past Tense. In the
okay.
episode, there's a there's kind of like a classic Star Trek trope of a transporter accident or a transporter malfunction, and it sends uh, Cap, Captain Cisco and 2 of his officers to the past,
Okay.
and early 21st century, and it happens to be in a time when there's rampant, poverty and social unrest, and like kind of a lot of band-aids that the government has been trying to put on. One of them is creating what is called sanctuary districts. It's like 20. It's like, and there's one in every like major city, and they're like 20. They're 20 city blocks. By 20 city blocks, and there's walls all around it. And
Okay.
what the government's been doing is putting people in there who are like homeless, or who are on hard times and can no longer afford their mortgages or pay rent, and also the mentally ill, like schizophrenics, and what have you. And so the captain, Captain Cisco, who is the best captain in Star Trek. Fight me, I'll fight you.
Wow, that's a bold
Yeah.
statement.
Or that is, or I should, maybe I should walk it back a little. He's my favorite captain.
Okay.
He's my favorite captain. I know what I'm not gonna. He's my favorite captain, and he's the best captain. The whole dichotomy of Picard and Kirk. That's a false binary. Captain Cisco. I'll fight
I'm gonna
anybody
have to
on this.
say I can't like confirm or deny because I've actually never watched that series of Star Trek,
Uh-huh.
so I'll have to I'll take your word for now, but I'm just saying it's very bold.
Right. That's right. I boldly go and say that Captain Cisco is the best captain. Anyways, anyways, the pivotal event that happens in the time that they arrive is what's called the Bell Riots.
Okay.
There was a man by the name of Gabriel Bell, and uh, there was like kind of an uprising that happens in the sanctuary district that he's in, that the captain and his officers are in, and in the uprising, some people take some government employees hostage, and it was Gabriel Bell who ensures that the hostages live, that and with his death, and it begins to like create this conversation about like, oh, we should start change and make and do better by these people and yada yada yada. And so it just like that this episode like just like kind of sparked something in my brain to make the connections like that's what's happening now.
Yep.
George Floyd is the Gabriel Bell character, and and George Floyd's death was supposed to be something that brought about change or brought some sort brought racial justice, whatever that means, or social justice.
Right.
But unlike the utopian outlook and resolution that's in Star Trek, it's been subverted. This idea of this one man's death, bringing about change or positive change, has been subverted. Because like what the George Floyd riots that we're having has morphed and is no longer about racial justice or social justice or whatever. It's become defund the police. It's it's everything except for like justice.
Yeah. It has nothing to. Say what I mean. George Floyd, not a good person to begin with, and
Right.
but the people that were rioting and looting, they don't know who George Floyd who's that? Oh, I don't care. I got this TV.
Right. Yeah. Early on, during the initial protest / riots, which I'll give them at least that much. It was protest / riots in the very beginning. There was that clip I shared with you guys of that looter who got caught by the police, and like the reporter interviewed him. It's like, is this because of George Floyd or whatever? And the looter was very candid. He said like, yeah, kind of, but not really. I'm just trying to come up, and it's and it's just like so it wasn't about racial justice at all to be in the beginning.
Yeah.
Or at least people try to make it sound like it was about racial justice or justice for George Floyd or police brutality or like the hundreds of other good sounding things that people thought they were protesting for, but it was all bullshit.
Oh yeah.
And so.
But just the world.
This was that whole story was kind of like a bit of an aside, but but with like social media, it's like just to quickly bring it back, a lot of the like when they took hostages and made their requests or demands, they used like what their like Star Trek version of internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like TV wasn't a thing. Like they when they were taking hostages and they were like trying to broadcast, it was through the internet.
Right.
Interestingly enough.
Wow.
But again, aside, right now, the social media companies are playing themselves. They're showing that that they are the true authoritarians. They're the true censors. They're the true. They're the real Big Brother. And right now, like. People's opinions about like the about BLM, about Antifa, about protests, about the riots, they're starting to change. The crowd is turning on the heckler, which is, if I'm to be honest, the Democrats. It really is. And that's why Trump didn't react when Twitter put that fact check on one of his tweets like a while back.
Yeah.
Because if you guys remember, the president put out something on Twitter, and Twitter put a fact check on it. It's like, oh, this is mostly false, right? So that was the first heckle. That was the first heckle, and and if the president reacted then, people would not have been on his side, or at least not like not his base would have been fine, but those who are
Not
either
exact. Kind of.
who are not his supporters or kind of politically neutral, it wouldn't have made a difference. Which then goes into like what I've been saying for a long time about like turning the what Jesus said about turning the other cheek, making more and more sense as time goes
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Because my interpretation of what Jesus meant by turning the other cheek is you know like one smack isn't enough. Give them the give present the other cheek so to see if they'll smack it, and if they smack it, then you can go after them. Because because one smack isn't enough.
Yeah.
But again, that's just my personal interpretation of that verse,
I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna look into that because I think there's some merit to that.
right? Because I believe what I heard about that specific saying was because in that society it was kind of a caste system, and
Right.
right, and so someone higher up, if there were certain there are laws and customs. So like if someone of a higher tier struck someone in a lower tier, the person in the lower tier couldn't react unless they were struck again a second time.
Right.
And so because like it had to be worth it. Like it couldn't just be it just couldn't have been one hit. It had to be two hits to justify the person in the lower caste to go after the person in the upper caste.
Right.
So
Interesting.
yeah. So yeah, that's the interpretation I came across, and I think that it bears weight.
I think there's some merit to that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that uh, that saying from Jesus just means like, oh, just take every punishment that they give you. But it's like,
Right. And I don't think
I
that's
don't think
the
that's
case.
it at all. That just makes it sound like masochist or whatever. I think Jesus was saying like, make it worth it. Like make the outrage, make the response worth it.
I think you're onto something there.
Me too.
Right. Well, let's get
Okay.
into our movies.
Yes, absolutely. Let's get into the movie reviews, which it's a double feature tonight, and we'll try to get through them as quickly as possible. Um, but let's start off with last week's movie, which is Schindler's List. Again,
Yeah,
keeping to the theme for the month, which is modern black and white films.
that's right.
Um, and let me just give you all a quick synopsis of that. Businessman Oskar Schindler arrives in Krakow in 1939, ready to make his fortune from World War II, which has just started. After joining the Nazi Party primarily for political expediency, he staffs his factory with Jewish workers for similarly pragmatic reasons. When the SS begins exterminating Jews in the Krakow ghetto, Schindler agrees to have his workers protected to keep his factory in operation, but soon realizes in doing so he is also saving innocent lives.
This movie was interesting. I think this is the first time I've actually watched it in a more critical light.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I love Liam Neeson. I think he's great.
Liam Neeson's?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those
One,
of you who don't know, that's a reference to a Key and Peele skit
yeah,
where they're like the
that's
two
right.
parking attendants who love Liam Neeson.
Yeah, the but you start, yeah, it kind of starts off where it's like he's he's kind of a very selfish guy because it's
Right.
about making money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's a typical businessman, and yeah, I don't know if he doesn't necessarily espouse the Nazi Party rhetoric.
Right.
He kind of seems like an outlier of the Nazi Party. Like you said, that word, it's expedient for him to be part of the Nazi Party, for him to to kind of make money.
Right, exactly. Like the opening scene is of him, like he has a Nazi pin, but it's just like him ingratiating himself to the Nazi higher ups, so that he can get his, like maybe like get a business license through, maybe get like a building permit through faster. Just kind of like building that social capital so that he's able to just like get everything for his business started right away.
Exactly.
So like yeah,
and
so he's not a true believer. It's just like I mean, I guess like I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but it's kind of hard. I guess it'd be kind of like someone who joins like back in the day like a union. They might not necessarily believe in like the party line of the union, but just expedient for them, or it's required for them to hold their job.
yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. But
So what I saw, like, because you see his character growth throughout the film, where he's this very, it's all about making money, and there is uh, that there's a little girl where he's on a horse ride, and he sees his, for whatever reason, this little girl kind of captures his attention, and through all the Nazi soldiers are kind of going through the ghetto and kind of cleaning out what they can see is dead weight, essentially. And that's where you start to see kind of his change of heart, and where it became more about saving people uh, more than making money. And uh, yeah, and obviously, like, when there was another shift in when because that little girl shows up again, he sees her dead body, and that's where he realizes, like, I have to use every available resource I have to get these people out of here, and I'm going to protect as many people as I can with the money I have and with the power I have. And you kind of like, so it's essentially, you see Schindler in three parts throughout this
right,
throughout this
it's
film.
definitely like an evolution. Because at first it's like he doesn't really care. He's just like taking advantage of the situation because he knows that he can exploit the Jews. It's more of what is it? His accountants doing that. The accountant is using this opportunity to save as many Jews as possible by creating like false work documents. Saying that some people are skilled in metal polishing or metalworking or or hydraulic press operations and things like that. But yeah, it's in this movie it's more of an evolution of Oscar Schindler, where it's like in the beginning where Ben Kingsley character as the accountant brings in that one armed factory worker. And Oscar Schindler being very upset at that. It's like it's like how could you have hired hired him to be a worker? Don't ever embarrass me like that ever again.
Right.
To the point where towards like I know I'm jumping ahead, but like towards the end, and then you go to him towards the end where he's like showing compassion on the Jews when they're like loaded up into train cars, and it's like in the middle of the summer, and it's like, oh, like why don't you go hose down the the train cars. Like, you don't want them to be, you don't want them to die, before they get to wherever they're gonna get to, right? And
Exactly.
so like,
Just humor me. It's okay.
yeah, you know, and so like slowly you see like his evolution where it's like, to the point like at the end when he starts like, coming up with his list. It's like I want all of these people.
Yeah. And even at the end, like when he's like getting they're uh when they're getting ready like to when Schindler's getting ready to like escape, it's like I was like, if I could have gotten more, it's like if I had sold this car, that's 10 people right there. If
Mhm.
I this pin, that's one, two people. I could have done that. I could have done better. Why'd I waste all this money? And um, yeah, it was kind of it's kind of like a little bit of an insight as to what it might have been, uh, throughout parts of the Holocaust.
Mhm.
Um, but it's insight into a character that, uh, 'cause, I mean, Oscar Schindler was a real person,
Mhm.
and that gravesite that's real. He did, and um, kind of the way that he was honored at the end of the film, that's actually very real. They instead of I was actually learning this from Dan, friend of the podcast, who's
Mhm.
talked about Judaism, is that they would actually place stones instead of flowers on the gravesite because flowers were expensive and Jews usually did not have that type of money, so they would place stones.
Mhm.
So if you see like little pebbles on the gravestone, it's usually someone that's Jewish.
Mhm. I see. Yeah, and I mean, you know, even though he wanted to save people in the immediate, I think it's a testament, uh, to Oscar Schindler that at the subsequent generations that came after.
Yeah, right. That were saved
Yeah, that were
because
saved, that were able to be born because of what he did. I know,
exactly.
I'm sure he had guilt that he wasn't able to save more people, but in a way he did because of the again the succeeding generation that came after all of those people that he saved.
Well, Stern even said it's like you have saved generations by what you
Right.
did.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think in the movie, I don't know about real life, but I'm sure like hearing that was like uh, somewhat assuaged his feelings of guilt, but not entirely.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I really like the evolution of Oscar Schindler's character, and even like him imparting, kind of lessons to Ray Fiennes' character. I forget what his name was. That character.
the I'm in good.
Yeah, I'm good. It's like he's talking about like, oh, like I could just go around, I could go and kill anybody. And it's like that's power. And then Oscar Schindler kind of retorts like, no, that's not power. It's like, that's not real power. The real power is to forgive, and to
Yeah,
pardon. And he tries, and the Ray Fiennes, tries it out. It's like,
I pardon you.
I pardon you. You know, like the first, like the stable boy who leaves his saddle on the ground. And it's like, I pardon you. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I pardon you. And it's like, but it's still for some reason it doesn't feel as like satisfying to him. And then like he has like that, and then he has like an interaction with one of the house boys, cleaning a tub and not being able to clean it properly. And he's like, and then
Right.
like again he tries to show compassion. He's like, I pardon you, and like and the boy walks away, and then all of a sudden like you see like the rage building in him. And then cut to the scene of the boy like walking away, and all of a sudden you hear, you see, a splash from a bullet, right next to him, and then like the boy keeps walking, and then there's a splash of a bullet on the other side, and then
Yeah,
finally a bullet comes in, like goes through his head, and then you see it's Amen,
yeah,
succumbing to his base instinct, succumbing to his hatred.
yeah. And, but the part to me that was like I said, the most compelling of the film was the uh the evolution of Oscar Schindler.
Right.
Um, I think that was the best part of the movie. Just seeing that character development.
Agree, because it was this guy that's like he was mostly amoral, or it's just like, or he was like numb to the surroundings. He was morally, yeah, I think maybe a better way of saying it, he was morally numb. Robert, did we lose Robert? Hold on, I think we lost Robert. Let me just check. Yeah, the network, my connection's a little bit spotty. But like Robert was saying, I agree with Robert in that uh, seeing the evolution of Oscar Schindler in this movie was the most satisfying part of it. Yes, the brutality and the violence uh, that was put on the Jewish people. Yeah, that was very disturbing, um, and it's one of those things that we hope that humanity could get past. Um, I think just technically, I think this was a really wonderful picture. The costume design was great. I think the best movies are the ones that transport you and make you forget that you're watching a movie. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with that. But this is one of those movies that did it very well. Um, you truly felt that that you weren't just watching a movie, but you were seeing a little slice into the past. Um, and you were seeing these actual people. You were seeing Oscar Schindler. You were seeing Stern. Uh, yeah, Isaac Stern. Um, and all these Jews go through the worst thing that they could ever possibly go through. And the performances were fantastic. I mean, Liam Neeson, of course, knocks it out. Ray Fiennes, of course, is amazing. Ben Kingsley absolutely kills it in this role. Yeah. If you guys can hear that, I'm just no. Yeah. But yeah. But the other interesting parallels is again, I don't. I'm not saying that this movie is 100% accurate, but some interesting parallels happen in this movie, whether it's historical or not, are still interesting. Um, just in that during the time that the Jewish people started becoming, we started to go under the control of the Nazis. Um, Nazis first had them wear stars, to signify their Jewish heritage, and so that they could be easily identified. And then when they would, you know, begin to send people away to labor camps, they use the label of essential worker to determine who would stay and who would go. And a lot of people, like teachers and or homemakers or people without kind of technical or industrial skills weren't deemed essential, and so that they were sent off to the work camps or extermination camps, as we'll subsequently find out. Um, but kind of the parallels that are happening today is like now, like they're forcing you to wear masks, um, or I don't know. I don't want to say force, but they're requiring they have mask mandates. They're saying who's essential and who's not. If you work at um, right. So if you didn't have industrial skills, you weren't considered an essential worker. Kind of like if you work at Home Depot or Walmart, you're an essential worker. But if you have your own business, you're not an essential worker. So it's these parallels exist, and whether or not it's historically accurate that they have this in, and they represent it in this movie, and I'm inclined to believe that it is. Um, it's just very spooky, this idea that nothing that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Um, but in this one instance, it's rhyming just a little too much, in my humble opinion. Um, yeah, it looks like we've lost Robert for now. I just got a message from him saying that his phone died. He's gonna try and get back to us, but I'll just soldier on. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I know. Right now, it seems like a really weird time, and it's an uncertain time. But I go by that title that I put down for this, as one of the titles for the stream, and that's best apocalypse ever. Um, and I've been sharing with a bunch of my friends and family members like this is the best apocalypse ever. Where it's a time of revealing of what's it'll take it's a all of the stuff that we thought we needed, all the stuff that we thought we needed, we turn we're slowly discovering that we don't need it, and the things that we need, or it doesn't have like the same importance as we may have imbued in it. Ugh. Yeah, talking for 2 hours. It's not that easy, folks. But as I was saying, pardon me. Yeah, we have to start seeing the good in things. and I think this time is the perfect time to do so. I mean, I've been doing a lot of like I've been really taking like critical look into my life and seeing what's important, what's not, what what are the absolute necessary things that I need. What can I do better, and I think this has been a real benefit to me and for me. Um, I'm hesitant to move on to the next movie, but maybe I should, just for the sake of continuing. I'll just I guess I'll just move on to the next movie that we had. I'll give you guys the synopsis for the next movie, which is Clerks. Dante is called in to cover a shift at his New Jersey convenience store on his day off. His friend Randall helps him pass the time, neglecting his video store customers next door to hang out in the quick stop. That's the name of the convenience store. The uneventful day is disrupted by news that one of Dante's ex-girlfriends has died. After attending her memorial service, Dante muses over staying with current girlfriend Veronica or reuniting with his ex Caitlin. Um, yeah, Clerks came out in 1994. It's one of those movies. I think for the time, it was a lot of people's first foray into independent films. It, here's Robert. Yeah, no worries. Oh, gee. Uh, okay, we have Robert back, but I have to set up his window again because he's not using his phone. Or you're not. Are you? Well, you're using your account, but not. Okay. Yeah. Why always gotta make it hard on me, Robert? Fucking asshole. What a fucking asshole. There you are. Okay. Yeah, I was just I was talking about kind of wrapping up on Schindler's List. If you have anything else to add.
Why do you think that they chose black and white for this film?
Actually, I do know why. Well, at least the reason that Steven Spielberg gives is uh, that for like World War II and like the Holocaust, all you ever see is black and white images.
Right.
And so like he's trying to go like do that. He's trying to use that same motif where that's what was it? And that's why the use of color was used so sparingly, because color was supposed to represent like hope or like the future.
Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense.
So that's why Steven Spielberg used black and white, kind of like to match up with like to match up with the medium of the time. It's like because even though color film was available at the time, it was just really expensive to process.
To use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so so Steven Spielberg decided that like, oh yeah, like the only time you see you see colored photography. It's like, yeah, it's supposed to, like the color is supposed to represent hope or the future or the possibilities of the future. Or, yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. I thought like it was a very well acted film. Like Ben Kingsley as the accountant, Ishak Stern was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Liam
Yeah,
Neeson.
we agree on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because while you were gone, I kind of continued on and shared my thoughts. Yeah, Ben Kingsley. Yeah, all the performances are wonderful. You know, Ray Fiennes as a as a Nazi is spectacular.
Yeah, yeah. It was.
Ben Kingsley
It was,
Ben Kingsley is amazing also.
and I always loved Liam Neeson. So
Yeah, Liam Neeson's.
yeah. So yeah, it was a great movie. It was kind of nice watching it again after a little while. It's been probably like what 10 years since I've seen it the last time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just the past anymore. This is happening again with not in our country. Not saying it's like we don't. It's but the in China we have
Oh yeah, that's right.
being whisked
The
off
Uyghurs.
to concentration camps in China that no one's really talking about.
Right. The I forget what the group. Yeah, but it's like basically Muslims in China.
Yeah,
And they're wearing jumpsuits. Their heads are shaved. You know, there's that drone footage of a train station. It's full of like Uyghur or Uyghur people. Yeah, Uyghur people.
Yeah.
And like there's like it's straight out of the like Nazi handbook. You know, shave their heads, put them in jumpsuits. You know, send them off on trains.
Yeah, crazy stuff. But good movie. It was a good movie, and I highly recommend it.
Agreed. Agreed. Should we? Yeah. So let's
Yeah,
give our
you want to go?
ratings. Let's give our ratings and move this along.
Why don't you go? Why don't you go first, Andy?
I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
Wow, that's really high.
Yeah.
You know what though? I'm actually gonna agree. I think this is a 4.5 as well. Like I said, I like the characters. I like the acting performance was really good. The cinematography was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kind of like somewhat of a historical film. Kind of highlighting you know flawed but good characters. Because Oscar Schindler, was not he was no saint, but it doesn't always take a saint to do something good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it. That's our review of Schindler's List. Robert and I both give it a 4.5. Definitely give it a watch. Um, you know, very a lot like I was saying when Robert was gone, a lot of interesting parallels that happen in this movie, whether or not they're fully historically accurate. Um, a lot of like the language that was used, like essential worker or having a certain clothing requirement.
Yeah, but I'm essential.
Yeah, I'm essential. Or was it, what if I don't wear the star? What are they gonna do? Shoot me?
Yeah. What if I don't wear the mask? Are they gonna shoot me?
Right. All right. Uh, let's get into the review for tonight, and that's
Yes.
Clerks. That's cool. I gave the synopsis, but I'll give it again. The
Okay.
synopsis reads: Dante is called in to cover a shift at his New Jersey convenience store on his day off. His friend Randall helps him pass the time, neglecting his video store customers next door to hang out in the quick stop. The uneventful day is disrupted by news of one of Dante's ex-girlfriends has died. After attending her memorial service, Dante muses over staying with current girlfriend Veronica or reuniting with ex Caitlin.
This is an interesting movie. I will say that there's at least 3 scenes in this film that I find very hilarious, but it's like somewhat like relatable in a lot of ways, or I think that they're like somewhat powerful. That scene at the beginning, like where he's called in on his day off. He's like, but I'm tired. I don't want to work.
Right.
Trust me, I have been there many a days when I've been called in on a day off.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm sure you could relate. I knew like this movie was gonna have a lot of things where you could relate.
Yeah, or the fact where you get it always happens this way. You come in on your day off, and you get the most annoying people that show up, like the guy that shows up with that. He's like kind of like he keeps bashing all these people that are buying cigarettes. It's like,
Right.
yeah, this is horrible for you. And why are you buying cigarettes? Throw that shit away. Here, get some gum. It's better for you. It's a better habit. And it's like you're driving away my customers. Like, and then like they start badgering you, and it's like, oh my god, just fucking go away. It's like, and it's trust me, I relate to that so much. And then it turns out that he was like that guy was full of shit. Like he was actually he was the gum salesperson, and so
Right.
he's trying to get people to buy
The
more
gun
of his
sales
gum.
representative.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to boost sales.
Fucking dick. And
Yeah.
but how quickly, and the other thing is like how quickly you think of it as back then you think, oh, it's a joke. Look how quickly the mob comes together. It's like that's pretty real too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, because he's like, here's, and like, I love, like, again, interestingly enough, he does use Nazi imagery where it's like, oh, like, he was talking about like, oh, and here's like here's the peddler of cancer and death, just hiding behind the age-old defense of I'm only following orders. Who else was only following orders? Nazis.
That scene just like I every time I watch that scene, it just makes me just laugh out loud. It's so hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just like the look on Dante's face is like I'm not even supposed to be here today. And Randall's also hilarious because I have friends just like that. It's like where they really don't give a shit about like what they're doing. It's just more they're very pretty much into themselves. I get one of my coworkers at work. He's my friend, but he's kind of like that too, where it's like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna say whatever, and what are they gonna do? But yeah, there was that scene. There was the what was I'm drawing a blank on one of the scenes, but the last scene like where him and Randall are fighting, and kind of like or they're getting an argument. It's like you talk about like all about how like, oh, it's your day off, all this stuff. It's like you had a choice. You didn't have to come in, but you're afraid the store is gonna fall apart if you don't show up. And it's like, and you say like all these things are happening because like, oh, you had no choice. Like it's none. You're putting the blame on everyone else but yourself. And it's like you can't make a decision. It's like grow up, wake up. You know, it's like you have so much more. You know, you have control of your own destiny. You know, stop being such a fucking pussy about it. And honestly, there's a lot of there's a lot of like fucking around in this film, but like that to me, like there's so many people out there that do that, and that message of like just stop blaming other people, stop looking, stop pointing the finger at all the other scenarios, start looking at yourself.
Right, and I think it's exemplified by that anecdote that he gives about when he was a child, and he wasn't he had to take a shit as a child, but he didn't lift up uh, the toilet seat when the toilet seat was down, and so
Right.
subsequently led him to just shit in his pants because he just, he wouldn't take the responsibility to change the circumstances himself.
Yeah, which it's, and you read that, you listen to that, it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Just lift up the fucking toilet seat. It's not hard.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think this movie was really revolutionary. And I think and especially for back in '94, I think this was a lot of people's first foray into like the independent film.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the first like what I would consider indie films that I really like, that became somewhat mainstream, that I thought was that it was very interesting at like first time. It's definitely one of the first like indie-ish films that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Right, and then like I think it popularized this kind of like nonchalant, like quick banter kind of dialogue in movies.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's interesting because like the subject matter is almost mundane and like banal and mundane, but it's delivered in a fashion that's very interesting.
I think there's maybe some elements that, because this is Kevin Smith did this film, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that he may have been inspired by certain elements, because this was the height of the Seinfeld craze as well, and which has a lot of quick, mundane banter if you really think about it.
True.
And so they kind of, I think, like took some sort of at least inspiration from that. And because you look at it, it's like this like somewhat middle of nowhere convenience store slash crappy video rental store, that it's like, how is this place successful?
Right.
Yet
Right. How's it stay in business?
exactly. And it's like something that shouldn't be there, but like it works somehow. And despite like, I mean, Dante seems to care, I guess, but you have like Randall, who like doesn't even care about like the video rental store.
Right.
Yet
he's
he's been
completely
uninvested
in his job.
Yeah. Yet he still like works there and has a job. And
I have a theory that
like
I have a theory that Randall's not like that edgy. He knows he's able to fuck around because like one of his relatives owns both businesses.
Probably, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's why he feels like he can get away with like spitting water at customers, or just completely being like a jerk off to the customers, because he knows that he can't be fired because one of his relatives owns the businesses.
Yeah, you might be right on that.
Yeah. So it's not like he's like edgy, or like he's all that profound. It's just like he knows he just knows that he can't get fired.
This because this movie also spawned some other movies as well. Like you had like Jay and Silent Bob, who were part of this film. It's kind of like weird. Like they're kind of like weird side characters. So it's like, they didn't really have much of a role in the film. And obviously you have Clerks 2, which I've never seen.
Neither have
I. But there, to me, like this film is to me, this is the one of the home runs that he hit.
Kevin Smith.
And yeah, Kevin Smith hit. Maybe the only one to me. Maybe the only one that he hit.
Dogma was pretty good.
Dogma was pretty good. I haven't seen Dogma. I'll have to check that out.
Well, yeah, because like Jay and Silent Bob do make an appearance in that movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
so it's in the same universe.
Very interesting. Yeah. But I the other thing that also kind of was interesting was Dante's kind of struggle between girls in his life, because the girl that we're introduced to in the beginning was like, her name was Veronica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's always seems to be like nagging him about like, hey, like you gotta get out of this place, like make something yourself, you're better than this.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of like cheering him on, nagging / cheering him on, and at the same time caring for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, he's kind of like seeing it as like, I don't know, and he's not really sure what he thinks. And then but he's also thinking about like this, he reads a newspaper article about one of his ex-girlfriends that was kind of this very passionate love interest that's getting married to some other person, and that's all I can think about. And yet,
right.
When she does make an appearance in the movie, she's not really that good of a person in a lot of ways. And
well, yeah, I mean, like the way like they describe her is like, that she was like constantly cheating on him, and like even like one time where they had like one of like their most passionate nights together, she was actually because it was at a party, but she was actually there to meet some other guy.
Right. And it's like, come on, man, like you have someone that actually gives a crap about you.
Right.
Yet you're
and it's interesting that it's at the end when Jay gives him perspective. It's like,
right.
oh yeah, he says like, he tells him like, oh yeah, you're hung up on this one girl who's constantly cheating on you, and doesn't value you, but you have this other girl, Veronica, who's constantly trying to telling you that you can do better for yourself, and she bringing you lasagna,
yeah,
just showing, just constantly loving on you, but you're still hung up over this this fucking selfish bitch that constantly cheats on you.
Exactly. It's like, fucking pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie, despite its like innocuousness, it has a lot of like deep themes.
Right. I mean, like the guy looking for like the perfect carton of eggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like Dante's I don't know, desire to better himself, but not being able to do it.
Yeah, he's a lot like that. He's a lot like that. Same thing with like, because there's the egg carton guy, there's the milkmaids,
right,
that are looking for that perfect expiration date. That's gonna make
expiration
it
date.
last.
That's like that's like even one day longer. It's just like and that kind of mirrors Dante's own desire to maybe push off responsibility, like even just like one more day.
Right.
Of bettering himself, or what have you. Yeah, and the idea, and I'm really glad that they went with the ending that they did, because I know that there was an alternative ending where Dante gets killed in a holdup.
That would have. I think that would have made the movie really bad.
Right, and because then it just goes, because then it just passes the buck off to like the kind of refrain, of the movie, which was like, oh, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
just take
it
yeah,
gives
just
him more of an excuse.
it gives him an out. It gives him it's like, oh, this fucked up thing that you totally couldn't have controlled happens to you. So which then Dante is able to then externalize his own his pain, his misfortune onto something else, and not
Right.
take it onto himself and be forced to make the change for himself.
So I kind of like the ending that they went with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously, like, his current girlfriend kind of finds out that, because Randall, his friend, kind of, helps him out by telling
Right.
his current girlfriend that he's getting back together with his old girlfriend. He doesn't want to be with her anymore. Right at the time where Dante kind of gets that speech from Jay, kind of telling him, it's like, dude, wake up, man. And so he's like, man, you're right. And right as he makes that decision, she comes and, like, fucking just
Swinging,
rips
she
into
comes
him.
in swinging, and it's like, how dare you? I can't believe, this entire time, you're thinking about leaving me, and you were talking with your ex, this entire time, utterly
Right.
betraying me, and it's like, and it's kind of hard not to feel for Veronica.
Yeah, I was
Say,
definitely
yeah,
on her
Dante,
side.
you're being a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if if that you decided that you're gonna stay with Veronica. It's like were you even gonna tell her about Caitlyn?
Yeah.
Probably not. And so initially, we all kind of think that Randall's fucking asshole for narking on him, but you know in a way it's he knew that he had to be the agent of change for his friend because he couldn't be the agent of change for himself.
Right. Yeah, he was actually being a good friend. It's like, listen, you need to wake up, and you need to lift the fucking toilet seat and, make the change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you can't do it, I, as your friend, am going to do it for you.
Right, like even with like the fine for selling the 4-year-old cigarettes, like he you know uh, he kind of externalized it and said like he tries to externalize it and said like, well, you're the like to Randall, like, well, you're the one who sold the cigarettes
Yeah. Yeah.
to the 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
again, it's
yeah.
just like him kind of like passing that buck again. Even though like because again he was supposed to be the one working the counter, not Randall. So,
Exactly. And it's like,
but then again, it's still on him because like he could have just said no to his boss and it's like, fuck you, it's my day off.
yep. And what was the okay? Well, one of the other funny scenes from the film, like, that kind of plays into just like the craziness of everything, is there's a old man who comes in, and he's like, oh, can I use the bathroom? It's like, I'm what do you call it? Incontinent. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead and use it. It's like, and then he's like, oh yeah, well, can I get something to read? It's kind of, it's
It
gonna
takes
be
me a
on the toilet
while.
for a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because he's the personification of like when you give a mouse a cookie. At first he's like, oh, I really need to use the bathroom. I'm old. I'm incontinent. I can't hold it. It's like, okay, fine. And then he comes back. It's like, oh, so what kind of toilet paper you got back there? It's like,
Yeah, that's right. The toilet.
and it's like, yeah. So it's like, do you think I can get one of those, softer cottony ones? It's like, okay, fine, sure. And then he comes back for. It's like, oh, it's like, do you mind if I can get a magazine? And it's like not just like People or Newsweek. It's like, oh, give me one of the nudie magazines. Oh, give me the one with the big
the one with
jugs.
the big titties. Yeah.
Yeah, the one with the big titties. So yeah, it's just like it's like the mouse, like they give the mouse a cookie kind of scenario.
And then it's like, you know, then he kind of like disappears, and you don't really, you kind of forget about his character for a little bit because there's other, you know, hijinks going on at the store.
Right.
And then it comes in like where his ex-girlfriend comes in, and
yeah,
you know,
explains
she's
herself,
thinking that
explains the announcement in the newspaper. Like she doesn't want to be with the Asian design major.
yeah. And then she ends up like agreeing to go on a date with Dante, and while she's waiting, well, you know, they kind of part ways, and she comes back, and like she goes into this like you know, to the bathroom that's like has no light on it, like after like 5 p.m. for some reason, and she's thinking that Dante's there waiting for her, and it's like, wow, I had like the best sex of my life, and it's like, Dante, you were amazing. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? I just got here.
Right.
It's like that's not funny. It's like, well, I'm not trying to be funny. I wasn't here. It's like, well, who was there? It's like, and they're thinking it's just, you know, it's not, you know, some sort of pervert or whatever. And it's like, it turned out the old guy died with an erection.
Right. It's funny because I haven't watched it in a long time, or I haven't watched this movie in a while, so it's like for a second I thought it was gonna be Jay or Silent
That's
Bob.
what I thought too. Yeah, that's
right?
what I thought.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna like just come out and be like, yeah, bitches, I got some, or whatever.
Right. That I think that's what you're expecting too, because that, you know, they kind of like they kind of set it up. Like
they set it up.
And when it's not, it's that old guy. And the other thing is like, oh, it was so great, Dante. He just was like lying there prostrate, doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what? Okay, you're a freak. You know, if that's like your turn on, it's like, well, I mean, Dante is kind of a do nothing guy to begin with, but yeah, it was just like, and it turned out to be that old guy with like his, you know,
with his nudie magazine. But
yeah.
interestingly though, that's a callback to the earlier conversation with the girlfriend Veronica, talking about talking about, you know, orgasms, and you know, a woman doesn't have to do much to get a man.
That's right.
To orgasm, but just to be there. But you know, to get a woman to orgasm, that takes some doing.
Skill.
But it flips it, because like the guy did literally. I mean, I know because he was dead, but the guy literally did nothing, and the girl still got off.
That's
that just came to me right now. I was just reminded of like that first conversation.
You're right. What a great! I never noticed that before. That's a great. Wow.
Yeah.
I like this movie even more now. That's high. That it's both highbrow and lowbrow comedy at the same time. That's a hard thing. I know,
it's simultaneous. It's simultaneously highbrow and lowbrow simultaneously. It's a sex joke, but it's a highbrow sex joke.
Yeah, exactly. That is great. I never thought of that. That's brilliant. 5 stars. 5 stars. That joke right there. 5 stars.
That's all it took for Robert. a highbrow sex joke.
What a great callback! I'm blown away.
I know. I'm just like amazed. Like that just came to me. It's just like I was like thinking about that scene, and I'm just like, wait a second, and it totally reminded. Yeah, it just gave me that recall to go back to that first scene.
Yeah, that's.
And I think you might be right. This is a 5 stars. 5 stars. I'm right there with you.
I think this, just from that, like, it was already like a pretty high rating, just, you know, because there is a lot of depth to this movie. but that just pushed it over the top.
Yeah, I know, because I was thinking of giving this like a 4,
Yeah, same here.
like a 3.5, 4. But it's like, yeah, highbrow sex joke, bam, 5.
Do you have any other scenes that like come to mind? Like,
Hmm. Hmm. Well, yeah, I'm just kind of working things out right now because it's just like I'm starting to rethink it like this entire movie, but it like another kind of weird callback is like the freak out that Dante gives Veronica for sucking 37 dicks. But
right.
then
Yeah,
that one betrayal of him like talking to his girlfriend makes Veronica go ballistic.
true. Yeah, and they were. Yeah, because they started off with them talking about like their number of
Right,
like
their
sex
sexual
partners,
histories. Mm-hmm.
and she was like, oh, 3, and it's like, oh, that's not too bad, and it's like for him it's like, counting you 12, and she obviously is like, oh, 12, it's like, and then it's like, and then she's talking about like how it's like, she like kind of casually, it's like, well, I did, it's like, oh yeah, I sucked off that guy. It's
This
like,
random guy comes out that she happens to know, and like his name was Snowball,
oh,
and like the reason why they call him Snowball is because he had a specific sexual kink.
yeah. Oh god, that's so gross.
Yeah.
But anyways,
But yeah,
and then it's like,
it's just like they kind of like bookend each other, because they both kind of like freak out, but Dante has like the bigger freak out about her like just going down on 37 guys, but then Veronica has like a freak out, rightfully so, uh,
right,
because Dante was ostensibly cheating on her with his ex, just talking, and like
right.
and even contemplating leaving her for his ex.
Yeah, kind of like it was kind of like a messed up thing, or it's like, and and one thing is like, they were with for Veronica, she's talking about the past. Her focus was on Dante now. Like it wasn't that she was currently, sucking off like all these guys while they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
But then yet he's freaking out about her past, yet in the present he's talking to his ex and also like kind of mourning and pining over a former girlfriend that's dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And also, deliberating whether or not he wants to stay with Veronica or go or be with his ex.
Right, whereas like Veronica seemed very committed to Dante and like
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make his life better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
just makes me like, I'm definitely rooting for Veronica in that one. Which yeah, because Dante is not a great person.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. There's not. Yeah, Dante's not like a good person. He's not necessarily boyfriend material.
Right.
Um, uh, yeah, I got nothing else. But yeah, just
No,
just
like that's, but yeah, no, this is actually a really, this is even, just talking about it tonight too. Like I already like the movie a lot.
right.
This makes me like, I have even higher accolades for this movie now.
Right.
Because when I was thinking of, when I was thinking of the theme for this month, modern day black and white films, it was Young Frankenstein and this movie that came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
and obviously the other ones we've watched were really good too. But yeah, Clerks. This is a good way to end this month. I think this is a really good movie that I highly recommend.
Agreed. Yes, and I guess there's no need to give us a rating because we already
Yeah, 5 stars. That
yeah,
it just
5 stars.
that joke alone pushed it over the top.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, it's like, oh my god, that's so brilliant.
But yeah, honestly, like a bunch at the time, a bunch of no names, doing this movie. It's done in black and white, most likely due to budgetary constraints.
Right, kind of like Chris Nolan's
Following.
Yeah, it was only shot in black and white because of it was cheaper, and I'm sure Kevin Smith did the same. I mean, obviously because the sequel to this Clerks 2 was done in regular color.
Right. And yeah, it's just a lot. But the thing is, it's a lot of, and really the location. It's kind of like one location.
Yeah, it's a static location. So like I mean, other than the convenience store and then maybe the
bedroom scene.
The bedroom scene and the funeral.
That's right. Yeah.
But you never go inside, and I think maybe like they did like the whole like Randall knocked down the casket and had the body spill out like off screen.
Right.
Was just a very smart way of utilizing just the exterior of a location, but not actually having to go inside.
Right. So it's this is definitely one. It's got a little bit of comedy. It's got a lot of depth. It's an even better film than I first realized, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this again. I recommend highest recommendation I can give it.
All right, yeah. Well, yeah, that's our review for Clerks. Both Robert and I give this a 5, just because of the highbrow sex joke.
That is it's brilliant.
It really is. I mean, if you really think about it, it's like the kind of the setup that they put up in the beginning, and then the follow through, and then the payoff. It's just it's just so good.
That's probably the best best sex joke that I can think of. Yeah, that's what a payoff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, okay, that was our review for Clerks. Again, Robert and I give it a 5. Definitely go check it out. It is, it's a classic. And I'm sure it has like cult. It has a cult status.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because Kevin Smith has kind of a cult following to begin with,
right,
anyways.
Yeah, I mean he's just. Yeah, Kevin Smith's career kind of like he's not really mainstream, but he like kind of parallels mainstream.
He's mainstream adjacent.
Yeah, mainstream adjacent. All right, well that's gonna be our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us, even though with a little technical hiccup, but hopefully well it's gonna happen. Since we run a duct tape production here, but I hope you were entertained. Let's do it. Don't forget to join us next week, 8 p.m. ish. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows. The Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course. Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts: Twitter @PodcastCOJ, and Instagram @Circular Jerks Podcast, and Letterboxd @PodcastCOJ. And with all that said, we thank you again, and let's do it again next week.
Sounds like a plan to me.